Week 3 is wrapping up tonight as the Chiefs take on the Packers, rounding out Monday Night Football for Week 3, meaning tomorrow is going to open up the waiver wire. Time to prepare for Week 4. Week 3, some injury news. Big Ben out 4 to 6 weeks at minimum. That injury looked pretty nasty, but luckily it's not significant, but it is 4 to 6 weeks regardless. So you're probably going to have to looking out for another quarterback there. So starting right into some waiver wire ads, Tyrod Taylor. Yeah, I'm buying into it too. The guy 7 touchdowns through the air, 1 touchdown on the ground in 3 games. Yeah, the Pats game was a lot of garbage time, but you know what? He looked pretty damn good against a Dolphins defense that was kind of highly touted at the beginning of the season, although we haven't really seen it so far. He was very efficient. 21 to 29, 3 touchdowns, 200 plus yards through the air. Taylor's been actually really solid so far this season. And he's got a very favorable schedule moving ahead. He's going to take on the Giants at home, the Titans, Bengals, Jags, and the Dolphins yet again back at home. So he's got a really nice opening, or a really nice stretch here going on, 4 or 5 games or so to really ride out here until Big Ben gets back, or if you're dealing with some other quarterback issues, Breeze, Romo, whoever, give Tyrod Taylor a look there. Staying in the AFC East, Rashard Matthews for the Miami Dolphins has really established himself as a pretty solid wide receiver too in Miami, which was kind of unclear coming into the season because they had Kenny Stills, you had Charles Clay there, so a lot of targets to go around with Tannehill, but Matthews has really put together 2 very solid games. 23 targets in the 3 games so far this season, putting up a big line against the Bills. Dolphins passing volume is very high. I think it's going to be a pretty safe floor for Matthews each week, and he's very low across his sites, but probably going to be sought after here on the waiver wire over the next few days. So definitely give him a look. Whether LaShawn McCoy is healthy or not, Carlos Williams making a lot of noise as the Bills' backup running back, got a lot of looks this week. Granted they're being ahead by a ton, but still has found the end zone 3 times this season, once in each game. I think Williams is definitely worth a stash on your bench, especially with so many non-producing running backs going on right now. C.J. Anderson, the Lions situation, Eddie Lacy banged up, Marshawn Lynch banged up. So you're definitely going to need something going on, and he is definitely a viable option to look at. Speaking of Marshawn Lynch, he was a random game time decision this week. Ended up being cleared to play, active with a calf injury, but he left the game with a hamstring injury. And Thomas Rawls, received a workload after that. No extent really on how bad the Lynch injury is, but he could be out if it's a hamstring, at least a couple weeks. Maybe at most, depending on how bad it is. But Rawls, 16 carries, over 100 yards of offense against a very bad Bears defense. But he did what he had to do. And looking forward, they're a run-heavy team. Even though we haven't seen it in the first 2 weeks, but you gotta like Rawls in that situation. It's definitely keep an eye on that right there. Looking at streamers for Week 4, looking at quarterback Derek Carr, less than 40% owned on the big sites, faces a bad Chicago defense. Outside of his opener, where he was hurt and banged up, 5 touchdowns and over 600 passing yards, and the Amari Cooper tandem right there is paying off big for Oakland. Chicago ranks last in pass defense and defense in general, but that really shouldn't shock anyone there. Look for Carr to have a big week. Love pairing him up with Cooper. They're going to do some solid things. And you got Latavius Murray as well, who's working well in the backfield for Oakland. So definitely like that offense right now. Clicking on a few games here so far. Looking at running backs, it's gonna kind of be spread out because your options kind of depend on ownership. You still got Devonta Freeman could be possibly floating around, but after his monster week, he is definitely going to be looked at if he's already not owned. Chris Johnson for the Cardinals going to have another week or 2 without Ellington. That offense is clicking, going to work well there. Also some injuries. DeMarco Murray, late scratch. Chris Ivory was active but didn't play. They can create some times for Ryan Matthews, Darren Sproles, Bilal Powell. Definitely some streaming options depending on all those situations, which you'll probably have to check back later in the week for those. Looking at the wideout spot, Allen Hurns going to be a great streaming option. Low end wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3 there. The Jags should be playing catch up or keep up with the Colts for most of the game. Uh, Hurns is going to get his targets. He's the wide receiver 2 in the Jacksonville system, has 60 plus yards in each game so far. And outside of him and Allen Robinson, there's not a lot of guys. There's, nobody really to take away from those two in targets. So I like Bortles throwing to him. He's looked, capable. He's looked better and better this year than he has previous year. The Jags haven't looked all too bad. On the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side for streamers, Chargers not a sexy option, but they're probably going to get the job done against the Browns offense that's led by Josh McCown. They have zero playmakers. If you can't find a top tier defense that's out there kind of floating around, Chargers take on the Browns at home. Other than that, maybe a team that's out there is the Eagles. They're my favorite choice. Taking on the Redskins that haven't been great on offense. Eagles got some playmakers. They got Sproles in the return game, giving you some upside in that department as well, so I do like them. If you're looking for other positions, and these guys are not available, you're in a deep league, whatever, hit the comment box. Also, keep checking the Fantasy Football Cafe site. Tons of articles and content going up each day of the week.